Hello everybody and welcome to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will, I'm a D&D sex icon, and we're back today, and we are very excited, in fact, very, very excited indeed, to have Mr. Chris Perkins with us. How's it going, Chris?
Hey, I'm doing alright. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear, my friend, loud and clear.
Hooray.
Fantastic. So I know Sydney wanted to do a little thank you.
Yeah, I like a nerding out thank you thing. I'm not going to stick around for the whole Q&A because it is Will's birthday present to get to have bro time with you. So
yes, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
But I did want to say thank you so much. I really didn't really expect a reply because I know you're so busy and this is right around the time of Stream of Annihilation, so it really kind of blew my mind that you said yes, and you were so nice. If you ever need a kidney, you can have mine to repay you for this, because this is the best birthday gift I could ever give to him. So thank you so much for this.
How did you know I ate kidneys?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will hop off.
All right, we'll
and
see you in a bit.
Do your thing.
All right.
Thanks, Sydney.
Fantastic.
Thank
So.
you.
So as I mentioned, we're going to be chatting, obviously, about some Dungeons and Dragons thing, because there's a lot of exciting things happening at the moment for D&D.
Yes.
So I suppose everyone here knows who you are, Chris, but in case there's one guy watching somewhere in space, it's like, who's that guy? Where might we know you from, Chris?
I am Chris Perkins. I am the principal story designer for D&D here at Wizards of the Coast in the Seattle area of the United States.
Fantastic. So, the Stream of Annihilation is tomorrow. That's where I wanted to kick things off, because that's very exciting. And I suppose most of us here are aware of what's going on. We're just chatting about some of our favourite theories as to what the next storyline is going to be. And I'm sure you can't tell us too much because there's going to be a lot of reveals tomorrow. But
that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, but for those of us who maybe don't know what's going on in terms of the stream and actually what's happening, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so starting tomorrow and going through Saturday, we're going to be basically doing 2 days of live streaming on Twitch with a variety of game groups from around the world. And we've brought them all to Seattle, and we're going to all meet at a secret place with some other luminaries and stars. And we're just going to play D&D from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. both days. And we've posted a schedule of what groups are going to play when up on the Wizards D&D website, in case anybody wants to tune into their favorite group, whether it's Maze Arcana or Dice Camera Action or Acquisitions Inc. the C Team or Girls Guts Glory or any one of the other groups that are going to be participating in the event. Their schedules are now up, and so you can plan accordingly.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I've done 15 or 16 24-hour streams, but I've never attempted a 48-hour 2-day event of D&D. How are you preparing yourself for this, Chris? I mean, I'm sure you're not playing for all of it, but it's a busy time for you.
Yeah, I think I'm DMing 2 or 3 times, and then I'm playing maybe once or twice. I can't remember exactly how many over the course of that time, with breaks in between.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just around the office here, because that's where I am. I'm actually in the Wizards of the Coast office, and you're staring up at the Wizards of the Coast ceiling. There's a bunch of us who are getting ready for our games, preparing last-minute stuff, getting our own character sheets ready, things like that. So it's frantic. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah.
There's a little sort of a pre kind of meet and greet party that a bunch of us are going to go to meet all the guests who are coming in later on today. So.
Awesome. Wow. That's it's about to be a busy time for you guys, I'm sure.
I just finished printing out one of my D&D characters, my lizard folk wizard, whose name is Lizard the Wizard. And Liz plays the banjo, and she collects bugs, and that's all I really know about her right now.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think everyone here is excited to see you play rather than DM. Now, I mean, I know when I DM a lot, I want to play, and when I play a lot, I want to DM. Is it the same kind of deal for you?
No, I just want to DM most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Playing for me is just kind of like a chance to just relax, and not have to pay so much attention to. I'm a very nice player. I don't try to beat up my DMs too bad, so it'll be a nice change of pace. Last time I played that anybody ever saw me play, I think, was at an Acquisitions Inc. live game. So it's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Stream of Annihilation happening. Chris Perkins is playing. Fantastic.
Right.
There seems like there's a lot of exciting things happening for D&D at the moment. I mean, there's an awesome streaming direction, which I love. Obviously, as a Twitch streamer, I think that's great.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more with Twitch in the future.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about Twitch, I guess, and streaming, because that's what I do a lot. And the Stream of Annihilation is happening, so it's on the agenda, I guess. So what challenges have you faced? Dice camera action. You've done for a long time now. What challenges have you faced while streaming D&D? Because it's quite a different experience, I found.
I was very, very nervous before I really started, because I wasn't that familiar with the technology and what sort of limitations. I wasn't sure what it would feel like to DM for people who weren't in the room with me. You can't really see their dice rolls or show them maps on the table or stuff like that. And oh, hey, somebody just dropped a gift on on me here. It is a official Chris Perkins Stream of Annihilation leather-bound book.
There you go.
Yeah, it's got my name on it, which you can't see because it's so dark.
Oh, yeah, just about making it out. There you go. Oh, wow.
Anyway, so the technology scared me at first, but we connect via Zoom, and the Twitch is a pretty stable platform. We had a little bit of a rocky start in the first couple episodes, just trying to get everybody loaded in, and the sound syncing. There were a couple issues there. I remember the first game I played, or maybe it was the second. Whenever I would talk into the microphone, I would hear my voice talking back to me about 2.5 seconds later.
Right. Okay.
And this. We couldn't fix it, so I basically ran the entire 90-minute episode hearing my own echo bouncing back at me at full volume, and trying not to let on that this was a technical problem. But by the end, I had a huge migraine. But after the first few episodes, I felt like the technology just kind of disappeared, and it was as close to an experience of actually having the players in the room as I've ever had. I don't feel inhibited at all by it anymore. I'm lucky because I have a producer in the room with me who is kind of problem solving, but so I can just focus on my game.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. And what's it like running shorter sessions as well? Because it's 2 hours, right?
Oh, yeah. It's actually under 2 hours. Each of our sessions is 1 minute and 45 minutes generally. Okay. And that was kind of scary because normally my sessions are 3 to 4 hours long, and I was wondering, how the hell am I going to pack enough interesting material into that short span of time? But you know what? It's actually been wonderful. Now I think this is going to become my standard length, because I like the challenge of just trying to give concentrated D&D, and I think it works too because the players, we don't waste any time. Once the game starts, they're right into it. They're right into their characters. They're kind of going with the flow. There's no time for chit chat, and I think psychologically, when you've only got a little bit more than an hour and a half to play, you kind of tone down the side talk. And that's been very, very good for the game.
Yeah, so it's almost like you get the 3-hour session within an hour and 45 because it's so concentrated,
Yes, and one of the other hidden advantages of it is that if somebody joins in late, like they learn about the experience late and they want to catch up, it doesn't take them as long to catch up as it would if they had to basically sit through 4-hour sessions.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I spoke to Matt Mercer a couple of months ago on the stream about having confidence as a DM. It came up after a conversation about streaming and how people perceive how great Matt is as a DM, rather. And I think a lot of people felt, or can feel, a bit intimidated by how good you see people are on streams, podcasts, YouTube, and stuff like that. And he said, interestingly enough, that he feels the exact same way about other DMs, and we ended up having an interesting conversation about anxiety as a DM. I'm interested to see how you kind of weigh in on that one as well, because I mean, similarly, I grew up listening to you and watching you play D&D, so it's hard not to put you on a pedestal,
The anxiety for me only really takes effect when I'm doing a live game on stage. when the audience is there. And it takes me a few minutes to whenever I get into the actual game, it's very easy for me to tune out everything but the players.
Right.
But those first few minutes when I'm aware of the audience, that creates nervousness for me. I don't have any anxiety really about DMing over Twitch because I don't have the chat windows open or anything like that. So it really is just me and the players, and so I'm perfectly at ease.
Yeah, that's good. Good. Okay.
But as far as other DMs go, I think that anxiety is good for DMs. It's healthy, it's natural, and it makes their games. It adds a little something to the game to know that there's a risk of failure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think people work well under pressure sometimes, and you get extra things out of people when they're under a bit of pressure. So I agree. Yeah. And the crucible
and you sort of see once you watch a DM for a while, you kind of get to know their tells. Like after a while, you kind of know when something has happened that they didn't account for, and now they've got to deal with it. And just watching how they do it is quite entertaining in and of itself, for me anyway.
Absolutely. So, I wanted to talk a little bit as well about the kind of seasonal content for D&D and how much I've been enjoying that as both a content creator for D&D and a player, just a guy who likes watching the game unfold, the 5th edition of the game, which is personally one of my favorites. How does writing seasonally help you? Write, I guess, because you are a writer after all.
That's true. So when we were launching 5th edition and talking about what sort of products we would do, we knew that we wanted to release less stuff. And that's driven by the reality that our books can be quite dense, and it takes a while for people to absorb the material and use it. And one of the problems we experienced in the previous editions, particularly 3rd and 4th, was we were releasing content so fast that the consumers couldn't keep up. And so they were using progressively less and less and less of the material that we were releasing. So it's kind of like writing for nobody. And the other problem we had was it was hard to build up excitement for any one product, because as soon as one product would release, we were immediately promoting the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and sometimes 2 products at once. And it just became very, very noisy and overwhelming for our audience and frankly for us. So we scaled things back so that people would actually have time to get excited about a product, to anticipate a product, and then when it comes out, read it, absorb it, figure out how they want to use it, and actually try out stuff in the book before they have to worry about the next thing over the horizon. And the same sort of holds true with the stories. That if we only have 1 or 2 big stories a year, that's something that people can keep up on, and it's something that can get them excited. And we also know that when we release a book like, say, Curse of Strahd or Princes of the Apocalypse or Storm King's Thunder, that people will need time to play it out. And that could be 3 months, 6 months, a year, who knows. And so we can't. How was it? What was it? If we want the stories to gain traction and we want them to become part of the common experience of D&D, we have to give people time to enjoy those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it definitely doesn't feel bloated. It doesn't feel like there's too many products to buy, too many things, and I don't know what's going on. I can always keep abreast of what's happening in D&D. I really like that of the seasonal stories. So you're... Sorry, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, now the stories themselves, the way we sort of come at them is we know that we have many business partners who do miniatures for us, who do DM screens, who do playmats, who do digital games, and they want to get involved in those stories as well. So giving them time to ramp up and do what they need to do to get their products out is also part of the scheduling for the stories. Like if we know that our partners at Cryptic at Neverwinter, during the Neverwinter game, want to do an expansion tied to an upcoming story, and they need 18 or 24 or 30 months to do it, then that kind of helps us figure out what our schedule is like.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. So, obviously, your job is being creative. Now, being creative as a job, I've ran into moments where it's difficult to stay creative all the time. 24/7 round the block. Come out with something fantastic. Do you have any, I don't know, things that help you to stay creative, I guess?
Well, I try to surround myself with creative people. That always brings out creativity.
Absolutely.
And many of them are around the office, although you can't see any of them now for some reason because my big head is in the way. So that helps. I also surround myself with toys. I surround myself with dragons and other things that keep my head in the game. And but mostly, I never stop thinking about D&D.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about it. It's always on my mind. I'm coming up with new ideas for my campaigns, coming up with new ideas for modules. So it's a rare case where my work is my hobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And consequently, I never seem to get tired of it.
Right.
And the hard part for me when it comes to doing a product is just starting it.
Yeah.
Once if I'm writing an RPG adventure, what I usually do is write the hardest stuff first, which is often the introductory material and the sort of the rules crunchy appendix material, so that I feel like I've written the front of the book and the back of the book, and all I'm doing is filling in the middle.
Right.
Psychologically, that seems to help me a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. When I write my D&D adventures for my home games or for whatever game we're doing, I tend to write the beginning and the end, and then I kind of fill in the middle as I go. That's interesting that you work that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I do up front is, if it's an adventure, I do the maps, because often the artistic process of designing the map helps me think about what's in the adventure. Because as you craft a map, if you've done it before for a D&D adventure, you kind of know that you're making decisions as you draw the map about like how big the complex is going to be, what the ecology of the complex is going to be. If you're building a secret room, you're kind of thinking about what's going to go in that room. So when it comes around to writing the adventure, you've already done some of that thinking just by putting the map together.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Yeah, I have to do more map making. Map making for myself, I find that I run too many games or play in too many games I don't write the maps for, or I'll have someone do one for me. I like the idea of doing it. I actually started doing a couple more recently, and I found that has been helping me for setting the scene a little bit more. And I wonder if maybe I should explore doing that some more. Now that
I think that's a really good exercise. It certainly helps me. I'm also. For me, it also taps into a different kind of creativity than writing.
Yes.
To actually sit down. I do most of my maps. If I'm just doing it from a home campaign, I might just do a pencil map or something. Yeah. But most of my maps these days are drawn digitally using Photoshop. I've become pretty adept at doing it quickly, and it's a little bit more forgiving if I want to make changes to the maps later.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have to open up my dusty Photoshop and see if I can lend my skills to it. So I'm writing an adventure at the moment. My friend Rem and I were actually writing something for a Kickstarter, a module, and I was wondering, there are plenty of people who I know who are currently writing things or want to write things for D&D or other RPGs. Do you have any advice or words of sage advice, I guess, for anyone writing something for D&D?
So my advice would be to study. So there's this way of learning or teaching. It's called imitatio, which is essentially learning through duplication. If you want to learn how to write like John Milton, you read a passage from John Milton and then you try to copy it or reinterpret it or essentially clone it. I took a course in university that was all about creating essays and poems written in the voices of famous dead writers. So essentially you had to copy the style of the writer and almost like you're trying to pass it off as a piece of their lost work.
Interesting.
It was kind of a revelation for me because I realized that I was kind of doing on my own the same thing with adventure design. Like I absorbed a lot of the old D&D adventures. Like I read them and I just sort of deconstructed them in my mind and tried to copy them in terms of the way they were written and the way they were presented. And I think that was a great training ground for me. And I would suggest that it could work for other people as well. That if you read and really read and dissect an adventure that you like and then try to copy it stylistically, not literally, but stylistically, you could get off to a pretty good start and kind of push yourself forward in terms of your adventure design. The other thing I would suggest is have a really good editor, somebody to back you up and make sure that your stuff is polished and clean, because I think part of putting an adventure out there, you're also putting a piece of yourself out there, and you want yourself to look as good and be as attractive as possible. And one of the best people who can help you do that is a gifted editor. They can also help you see blind spots in your adventure.
Interesting.
And then the last thing I would suggest is find somebody to playtest your adventure who's not you.
Right.
If you playtest your own stuff, you tend to mentally fill in the gaps, and so you don't get as good of feedback. But if somebody else playtests it for you, they are going to always find things. We had a lot of playtesters on the adventure tied to our next big story, which I'll be announcing tomorrow. We had hundreds of them, and even though I've been writing adventures for 30 years, the feedback that we got from them was so insightful and made me change so many things in the adventure to sort of improve the playability of it. It was absolutely invaluable. So those three things I would say: read other adventures and absorb what they've sort of done, find a good editor who can back you up, and then rely on playtesters to help you catch things that you wouldn't have otherwise caught up by yourself.
Really interesting. Yeah. And I think, this is something that I've heard from a lot of writers. We had Greenwood on the show, we had Matt Mercer on the show, and, generally seeing a lot of trends in terms of talking about writing in that regard, and critical feedback seems to be really, really important in improving. And not only as a writer, I think, but as a DM at home. I always ask my players, what could I be doing better? What did I do bad? What did I do good? What did you enjoy? What could we do different? And that seems to be very much the I guess the feel of 5th edition seems very kind of open to that feedback from the audience.
Yes, absolutely. Fourth, D&D is great because you can do so many different styles of adventures. There's really no boundary that you can't cross creatively with a D&D adventure. And one of the things I've been doing recently in the past few years is bringing people in to help us consult on our stories and adventures. These people typically have a passion for D&D somewhere. They played it as a kid, or they still play it now, or and they often help bring a new perspective or a different perspective. So like for instance, on the Curse of Strahd story, I brought in Tracy and Laura Hickman, who had written the original Ravenloft adventure, because they would have insights into that milieu and that genre, and they would also have 30 years of experience since writing that adventure to share. And so that proved invaluable to me. And I would do that again in a heartbeat.
That's interesting. That's cool. Yeah, and I think, as I, have began to dip my toes in the water of writing and, producing content on Twitch, YouTube, wherever, I found, that seems to be the case. Often it's very easy to get quite narrow visioned into, like, this is the way that I do things, this is how things are done. And then you open it up to, I used to just play a game at home with a bunch of people, and now, there are hundreds, thousands of people who tell you, like, what you're doing is right or what you're doing is wrong. And it totally opens up your mind on what D&D is or what you should be doing, and it's
exactly. And there are so many different styles of storytelling. Like you can try to tell a rather linear story. You can try to tell a more sandboxy story where the characters can kind of go wander anywhere they want to. In terms of adventure design, that both of those things are challenging, because you don't want an adventure to railroad the characters. On the other hand, you don't want them just wandering around aimlessly trying to find your story. So there are challenges in adventure design that quickly become apparent once you've sort of wrestled your story to the ground and figure out sort of the scope of it. Then you run into the challenge of, okay, how do I keep the story from going off the rails? Adventure design is so bizarre, just as a medium, because it's not like writing a novel where you have protagonists and you kind of are guiding them through the story. There are no heroes prescribed in an adventure because those heroes are going to be brought in by whoever picks up the adventure and runs it. So you're kind of running this framework.
Play about a cast, kind of,
Exactly. You kind of know what the villain's up to and what the villain's going to do, but what happens when the villain's plans cross with the character's plans? It's like, no. You try your best to give the DM just enough information that they feel like they can run it on their own, but not so much information that they become overwhelmed or they feel like this story can't be made into something of their own. Yeah.
I'm interested as well, in terms of producing content and adventures for like home games. Is there, I'm sure there is, but what is, I guess, the difference between producing it for a market and for an audience, the people who are going to buy it? Are there any kind of pitfalls or...
Well, if I'm doing an adventure for my home game, I don't actually write the adventure.
Right.
It's just in my head.
In your head, yeah.
and I have like a page of notes. For instance, I have with me here a black binder for my dice camera action game. And inside the black binder, I have essentially a one sheet that looks kind of like this. So it's got the title of the adventure and the episode number, and then it's got like a short description of what I expect, sort of the main thrust of what the session's going to be. And then I just list like NPCs and cast members and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I have just a running list of NPCs, and that helps me kind of, all it does really is helps me remember what are the key beats of the game session. Who do I kind of think is going to be important and what might happen. Those one sheets don't have to be perfectly accurate, because as soon as the action begins, characters might do something weird, but it gives me a sense of where the story's going. With a published adventure, everything's got to be written out in a prescriptive way, so that any DM, regardless of their experience level, hopefully, can read it, digest it, and then say, okay, I know what's supposed to happen here. I feel confident I can take this and run this at my table. Or if not that, they can say, well, this story doesn't suit my campaign at all, but hey, that's a really cool map and that's a really cool location. I'm going to cherry pick those things and drop them into my campaign.
And you seem to be a big advocate for not playing modules necessarily 100% by the book, right? Make it your own as a DM.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I believe in that wholeheartedly, and that goes for even stuff that you write yourself. I'm running for Dice Camera Action, I'm running a version of Storm King's Thunder. It is not the published book.
Interesting.
And I think that's good for a couple of reasons. One, if you're Twitch streaming something that's published, you don't want to spoil everything.
Right.
And so, because other people who are watching will eventually run the adventure themselves and will want to be surprised.
Yeah.
And part of it is, I wrote Storm King's Thunder in 2015. And now that I'm actually running it, new ideas have popped into my head and new things have occurred to me just based on the characters that I'd want to include in the story that wouldn't have been appropriate for the adventure, or I didn't think of at the time I wrote the adventure.
Interesting. Well, I'm interested as well. When you started writing for 5th edition, have your aims or expectations, I suppose, or experiences changed any from the inception to where we stand currently, one day before the Stream of Annihilation?
No, not really. Okay. But what usually happens is the story kind of determines how the adventure is presented and written. So take, for example, Storm King's Thunder. It's this sweeping epic story with all these different kinds of giants doing all these different things across a very large chunk of the Sword Coast and Faerun. So that story by its nature dictated a format. Whereas Curse of Strahd was much more claustrophobic. It had a tight, sort of a bounded realm. The characters could only go so far before they were kind of pushed back, and really just a handful of key locations to explore, ultimately culminating in the battle with the vampire in the castle. And everything in that story was built. The only things that made it into that adventure were things that somehow were tied to Strahd, the vampire, specifically. So, because that story is all about what happens to this vampire and all the people under him, and how do their lives get twisted and warped by this evil creature. And so everything in the story ties into that very concept of whatever Strahd comes into contact with, he kind of destroys or ruins. And anything that didn't tie into that thematically, we didn't put in the adventure. Very different from Storm King's Thunder story, where you've got 7 different villains doing 7 different things, and you might not have to stop all of them, only one of them. It begged a very different structure. And like, for instance, in Storm King's Thunder, there's a huge chapter about geography of the North, and it talks about all these locations in the North. We needed that because of the story we were telling. We wouldn't have put that in if the story had been different.
Interesting, and I loved Curse of Strahd. It felt very much like a horror story, when I'm playing through a Call of Cthulhu module at the moment, reading that adventure, and I see some similarities in the way that's constructed, and that's one of the reasons I think Curse of Strahd has been one of my favorite.
Structurally, this is a bit of a spoiler, but structurally, the next story, the one that we're announcing tomorrow, is similar to Curse of Strahd.
Ooh, interesting. We won't press you anymore on it. We won't press getting you into tell us about the Stream of Annihilation.
So people who I think people who liked the sort of scope and pace of Curse of Strahd and sort of the overall design will get a kick out of the next story.
That's awesome. We were talking before about online play, and we were talking about dice camera action and the like. So Stream of Annihilation made me think of this. Virtual tabletops and D&D Beyond as well. Now this is something which I was super excited about when it was announced, and I'm still pretty excited about it today. As we had a couple of the wonderful crew from D&D Beyond come in and talk to us about
Curse.
Talk about D&D Beyond, and we play a lot with Roll20, and I just bought Tales from the Yawning Portal on Roll20 as well as physically. And I was wondering what your experiences have been with these online tools that are amassing around 5th edition.
So Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds, we provide them with our adventure content so that they can put it up there for people to enjoy. And I've used both periodically. I don't use them on Dice Camera Action because the show is pretty short. It's tight, and I wanted to minimize the technology and keep it as theater of the mind as possible. Because frankly, with that show, I feel like the thing I want people paying attention to are the players, the 4 players. And they are as big a draw as any technological gizmo that I could put up on screen, because they're so charming and they're so into their characters and so much fun just to watch. So I wanted eyes on them, not on dooflickies kind of moving around on a screen. But I think that depending on the nature of your game, and particularly for home games, with players who like to see the dungeon kind of unfold before them, that these tools are eminently helpful and are just getting better in terms of kind of getting out of the way technologically. They're functional. They're holding up for the whole game, and the DM doesn't have to invest a tremendous amount of time getting prepared ahead of time. And that's just getting better and better and better over time. Now, D&D Beyond, which is the phone-friendly tools for tracking your character and doing other things to help the DM. We're just in the early stages here of playing with all the functionality and stuff, but I think that's just going to be another helpful tool for people. I look forward to just having my characters on a phone, and I may even at some point put my NPCs on there. it's just convenient,
Yeah.
and it's the UI is very promising,
Very clean.
and
Yeah.
very clean and easy to use and seductive.
Mm.
So I have great faith that these tools will be helpful, both to DMs and players going forward.
Yeah, and I think that's, one of the really interesting things I've witnessed in 5th edition. Obviously I spend my life online playing D&D, but the amount of people that I've been able to meet and the amount of access to D&D is so much more than ever before with the rise of Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, and the internet in general. Programs like Skype, Zoom, just make it so easy for people to connect, and I think that's one of the wonderful things about 5th edition as well, is that it's quite easy to play Theatre of the Mind, right?
Yeah, 5th edition does make it very easy. The rules sort of get out of the way and let you have fun, and I think that it's just a nice coincidence that it's releasing at the same time that technology is bounding forward and making it so easy to play. And we're sort of in this era of role-playing games and D&D where there are so many D&D games coming up now that people can fill their weeks with D&D entertainment like they couldn't 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. And the Stream of Annihilation is going to get more people playing in D&D, and that's always great in my opinion.
Yes. So the stream is going to be what we're going to do as part of the stream is try not to spoil a lot of the stuff in the next story, but kind of show off thematically what the story is about.
Yeah.
And so the DMs who are putting together their games for tomorrow and Saturday are kind of taking a thematic approach. They're not necessarily literally running the adventure, but they're running things inspired by or tied tangentially to the adventure.
Okay. Similar to how you mentioned before, you don't want to spoil everything on a stream for people, because then
yes,
you can't
exactly.
watch it, yeah.
Like I know one of the DMs is basically kind of running a prequel kind of scenario. There's an encounter in the story that takes place, and without spoiling too much, it involves a ship, and a ship in distress, and this adventure that's running tomorrow basically introduces you to the crew of that ship, and sort of what happens to the ship leading up to where it is in the story.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a neat idea.
Yeah, I like it.
And for dice camera action, I mean, I'm still telling my regular tale, but I've sort of injected a little bit of this story elements into the episode. So I look forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited. Very excited to be watching tomorrow and the day after.
Yes.
The birthday wind down.
And another fun thing will just be watch people from different streams in other people's games.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm pulling in one of the stars of Girls Guts Glory into the DCA game, and there's going to be some cross-pollination there, so that'll be fun.
Interesting.
People have always speculated how these different games might intersect or crisscross with one another.
Yeah, that's interesting. Seeing so many different people playing a game, and hey, even more playtesting to see it go live. Fantastic.
Exactly.
So one other thing I wanted to touch on today before we let the wonderful audience who've been waiting so patiently ask yourselves some questions whilst we rattle on here. On After Arcana, I love it. Have a wonderful blast reading it each week and seeing the developments coming out, and I was interested to really see if there's any, I guess not news, but anywhere it's going, I suppose. I mean, I am of course leading up to the question, when's there going to be a book about Unearthed Arcana? But I'm not shouting. I'm just really interested to see, in terms of development for 5th edition, to seeing Unearthed Arcana and having such a, we mentioned before, this feedback with the audience and saying, here's some stuff this week, do you like it? Great. Do you not like it? Never mind, we'll do something different, and then changing it. And I think that's really interesting for as a company, as game designers to be seeing, because you must have such a huge amount of feedback from Unearthed Arcana.
Yeah, we do. So we had a great deal of success with the playtest process for 5th edition,
Yeah.
and we just wanted to keep that process alive. We had so many playtesters involved in the playtesting of 5th edition, and we got so much useful material that in some cases changed folks' ways of thinking about the game here in the building. And to keep that alive, Unearthed Arcana is sort of an extension of that. It sort of follows the same process. It lets us, the creative people, game designers that we are, we continue to design stuff, and we continue to think about the game and where it's going to go in future years, and what are good additions to the game and what are not so good additions to the game. And one of the ways we do that is through the UA and Mike Merles and Jeremy Crawford, who basically spearhead Unearthed Arcana. This is a test bed for them to put out trial stuff and get the reaction, and then internalize the playtest feedback and figure out whether this is something that can be added to the official part of the game down the road. And that's the key, is the stuff that comes up on Unearthed Arcana is not official content. It is content for you to try and explore whether it will turn into something else down the road or get picked up for some future product. That's entirely based on its success in the UA forum.
Awesome. So keep reading Unearthed Arcana.
Exactly. And there's no fixed timeline where that material might get picked up and used elsewhere. But suffice to say, that's sort of the ultimate goal, is that we test the stuff and then it evolves, and then once we feel like it's ready to be integrated or can be integrated into the rule set, we'll do that.
And it feels as well, as you mentioned, it doesn't feel like you guys are under too much time pressure. Like, it's nice that it's taking its time, and it doesn't feel rushed in terms of content. We've got to get another book out, and it's, stumble over ourselves to, throw books at people. It feels very measured in that regard. And
I mean, the worst thing we can do to the game is sort of bog it down with more official content that proves to be actually damaging to the game experience, and also making Dungeon Masters pay for content that we don't feel like is living up to the promise of 5th edition or the standards of 5th edition. So
absolutely. Interesting. So let's open some questions. Let's open the floor, I guess, to some folks that have got some questions. You've been waiting patiently. Thank you guys so much. So I'll read out a couple here, and we'll go through some of these. So Ben asks, Ben is a Warhammer 40k author, and he's written some other role-playing games. He DMs for us each week. He asks, do WotC have plans for campaign setting books, or are they focusing on stories and campaigns instead?
I can't discuss specific projects that we are or aren't working on, but what we decide to do is sort of we try to take the temperature of the audience. We try to consider how that information will be used. For instance, we could theoretically release a campaign setting book, but if DMs don't use more than 10% of it, is that really the best use of that product? Can we do something with a greater impact? My philosophy personally is that campaign setting books are good for reading, and they inspire DMs, and in that way they can lead to some very great campaigns. But in our sort of story first mentality, I like releasing information that I'm betting the DM will actually use at the table, and so doing more digestible chunks is better, and tying it some way to the story is better. So like with Storm King's Thunder, we had a large section on the geography of the North because it was important to the story that it be there. And so you kind of, in a way, are getting a lot of campaign setting material baked into the adventure.
Interesting.
And that's kind of the approach I prefer to take. I'm not saying that I'd be against a campaign setting book, but then the other thing is when you do a campaign setting book, you have to plant a lot of stakes in the ground.
Right.
Like, let's say we were aiming to release another Forgotten Realms campaign setting book that covered all of Faerun and all of Karatur.
Yeah.
We'd have to suddenly or very quickly make decisions about what is happening in Rashomon, what is happening in Thay, what is happening in Damara, what is happening in Mulhorand, and do we want, and then there's this instant tension of like, do we want to actually plant all those flags, and nail everything down, so that the DM feels that they can use that material? That's a lot of thinking. And often what happens in campaign settings naturally is they tend to get this kind of very shallow gloss.
Right.
It's like, we're going to tell you what's happening in Mulhorand in 3 paragraphs and then move on. Right. And that is kind of helpful to give the DM sort of a here's the state of that part of the world, but it's not helpful because it's not really giving the DM anything he or she can sink their teeth into.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting.
It's a tough balancing act, and particularly with our worlds being so big, you often can't do them justice. The other thing that's always in the back of my mind is releasing stuff that we've kind of done before.
Right.
I feel like there's a risk, marketing-wise, in particular, to kind of going back and essentially just regurgitating and re-presenting familiar content. It's like, how many Eberron campaign settings do people actually need?
Right.
They've still got their 3rd edition and their 4th edition ones on their shelf. Yeah. Is the 5th edition one going to be measurably better?
Yeah.
If the answer is not no, then why?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And that's something that I, when I'm reviewing content and stuff, coming out, that's something I criticize probably quite heavily. If I have this, already. We've got 10 books of this. Do we need another one? So that's something I have to give you guys props for. Is that everything feels pretty new for 5th? I think
there's a lot of people forget that many of our earlier books have a lot of edition agnostic material in them. Yeah. Take, for example, the Draconomicon book from 3rd edition and the subsequent Draconomicon books for 4th edition. Most of the content in there can be picked up verbatim, regardless of what edition you're playing. So that content is there. We don't have to give that to you again. You can download it as a PDF, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I get that question a lot. And don't worry. I got your corner. Where can I get a PDF for this? Yeah. So, all right. I like this question a lot. Pocket Dave asks, my 5-year-old son Griffin is very excited about the prospects of a new dinos in the new setting. He wants to know, what is your favorite dinosaur, Chris?
Oh, okay. My favorite dinosaur, I'm going to say, is the T-Rex. And the reason I say that is because when I think of sort of epic adventures in Dino Lands, I always think of the old sort of Harryhausen fights and things like that from the old action pulp movies, and the T-Rex is just the biggest and the scariest. Now, I like it when sometimes there's a little bit more to the T-Rex than meets the eye. You'll meet one of those in the new story.
Ooh. Yeah. Interesting. Don't tell us anymore.
Okay, I won't tell you anymore. So I like to surprise. Yeah, it's not just the T-Rex. It's a T-Rex plus.
Interesting.
Something scary.
We made a vampire Tarrasque in one of my games once. It was great.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Terrifying.
Holy smokes, that is terrifying. Could it turn into a giant bat or what?
It couldn't, but it did have a lot of blood-sucking abilities with tentacles. So that was good for it. We had a good time.
Is that a Tyrannosaurus on your neck, or are you just happy to see it?
Right. So, T-Rex, spoiler alert, guys. Yeah. T-Rex with lasers. Yeah, that's it. I can
T-Rex
see that
with
now.
lasers.
Yeah,
that's where we went. That's
you got
exactly
it, guys.
where we went.
Damn it, Chris. You're not meant to tell us.
We're pretty shallow.
Now, if that actually comes out, I will be laughing. Okay, so Wergath asks, and this is something that I've talked about in the past of the stream. Seems like D&D's focus has been on new races and locations of late adventures. Can we expect new classes in the future, or perhaps Paragon Paths? Now, we did flirt with the idea, or in Unearthed Arcana, God, must have been quite a while ago now, with Prestige classes and the like. And honestly, I mean, this might be another question where I can't say too much more, which is
no, I can't say specifically what might be coming up, but we've reached the point in the edition now where we know people have explored a great many of the class and race combinations in the player's handbook, and that's why you've seen some new material pop up in Unearthed Arcana. That is deliberate, and infer from that what you will.
Okay, let's move on to... Laura asks, Little Black of Arts, she says, more serious question this time. What books or series would you say were most influential for you when starting your career? I love questions like this.
Let's see. For me, as far as starting my career, I feel like, all the basics, the Tolkien stuff was hugely influential with me. One of my professors at university is an author named Guy Gavriel Kay, and he wrote a series called the Fionavar Tapestry. That series of books was very important to me. It was a fantasy series, and that really helped galvanize my intent to get into the fantasy role-playing game.
Absolutely.
and writing business. And Ian Fleming, oddly enough, was very influential on me. And trying to think, Lovecraft, obviously.
Lovecraft, of course.
Yeah, huge Lovecraft fan growing up.
Yeah.
And I'd say those are probably the biggies.
Okay.
A lot of things have influenced me since. Both in terms of affecting the way I write and also how I think about fantasy. The one standout that springs to mind is Susanna Clarke's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which is a divinely written novel set in Victorian England, but in a version of Victorian England that has practicing magicians.
Oh, cool.
Highly recommended. It's absolutely, it's not for everybody because it is a very quote unquote literary book,
right?
But it is immaculate in its storytelling.
Add it to your wish list.
And it makes me strive to be a better writer.
That's cool. Yeah, those books that make you think. Yeah, I like that. So Trombone asks, I think it's safe to say that D&D is in a bit of a renaissance right now. Did you ever imagine it'd be such a resurgence, and how does it feel to suddenly have so much interest and focus on a game? It's an exciting time.
I love the way you say renaissance.
Renaissance. What would you say?
I would say renaissance.
Renaissance. Oh, I say renaissance. Yeah, okay.
So it's fun to be in this this period of renaissance. I feel like D&D has entered the platinum age, and the fact that the internet has allowed games to spread and allowed people to come into contact with each other and play without barriers over the interwebs is great. And I think that it's shown us, or it's allowed us to show the world that this game is not hard to learn. The rules are pretty easy. And you just, all you need is basically your dice and your imagination and a good group of friends to hold the game together. And you can go in whatever direction you want, because it's clearly been shown now that, every campaign world has its allure, and and people are looking in this very trying world we live in for escapes to better worlds, or at least imaginary worlds, and D&D provides that. So I think just by virtue of timing and where we are technologically and where we are emotionally as a human people. Certain things never die, and that is the need for humans to tell stories, whether it's around campfires or whether it's over the internet. And D&D plus technology is enabling that like never before. So gone are the days of just nerdy little groups in basements who don't really interact with other groups except maybe the once per year where they get to run off to Gen Con. Those days are evaporating, and we're seeing D&D just alive and everywhere. And of course, the generation that grew up on D&D in the 70s and 80s are making movies and TV shows now, and they're running companies. And so they are bringing their love of D&D into their lives and into their children's lives in ways we've never seen before. And so we've got Stranger Things, and we've got this and that and all these other things popping up because D&D has the advantage of now being 40 plus years old, and it's a multi-generational game. And so it's becoming a family game. Like, what?
I started playing with my family actually when I was 10. So it's crossed a big river into a brave new world, and I don't think it's going to go back.
It's
interesting what you said. Humans needing to tell stories. I studied ancient literature and ancient poetry for a while, and that was all word of mouth, verbal. We need to tell stories, and and it seems very kind of, I don't know, not to get too deep, but we maybe we live in a world where we feel quite disconnected from things due to technology, and D&D is quite it's so connective. It makes you connect with people, and it's quite a relieving or cathartic experience for people to escape the real world, which is as we mentioned terrible.
And when you discover somebody who is sort of in on it, like you might meet somebody new, and you realize that they are D&D players, or they're lapsed D&D player or whatever, there's an instant connection there. And I think that happens to me a lot.
I find the same.
And one of the best comments I get from people is that they were playing D&D years ago, and they stopped for whatever life reasons, and now they're just getting back into it, and they're surprised pleasantly by how easy it is, particularly how 5th edition has plucked what they remember, what they liked best about the edition they remember, and kind of brought that forward.
Tools was saying prides the intimacy with other people that we have lost. I think it probably does, which is nice. We get to share these moments with people that, I certainly wouldn't share with people in real life. Most like, family, sure, but people everyday life getting to live through these things is fantastic. I like this question a lot. Grimjack, he's a player on one of my Call of Cthulhu games. Greg, he asks, if you could get one celebrity at your table, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh my gosh.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of it.
It is. I can't. It's hard to narrow down because suddenly thousands upon thousands of names are popping into my head. So if I had to pick one, I'm gonna. Hang on. Just give me a second.
No worries. It's a tough question. I'm trying to.
It is a tough question. I'm gonna say Barack Obama.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that would be a game I would pay to watch.
I think he'd be really good at that. I think he'd be fun. I'd love to see what.
I think he's a fun-loving guy. He would.
I do get that impression.
Yeah,
yes.
He would be down to D&D. I reckon somewhere along the line, Barack Obama's played a game of D&D before.
Yeah. There aren't too many politicians I can think of who I'd have on my list, but that's one of them for sure. If I were to go a little bit crazier, I'd probably say like Dame Judi Dench.
Judi Dench, oh, she would be an absolute babe. Can you imagine?
I would love to see her play like, I don't know, a halfling or an elf rogue or something, just going around stabbing people in the throat.
She would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Man, we got to make this happen. Stream of Annihilation, let's get Judi Dench on.
That's it, yes.
Let's get Barack on.
Yes.
People are saying Gandhi. I like, Gandhi. He would probably be an interesting fellow to play, share a table
That would be a very existential game.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be evaluating my life choices during that game.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Okay, let's see. Whatever. We've got a lot of questions regarding Planescape. Will there be ever Planescape or other Outer Planes focused material? I think we touched on that before.
With regard to Planescape, I can't talk about whether or not we do a future
Yeah.
Planescape-focused product, but it has been our intention and is true ever since we launched 5th edition that we have seeded the edition full of Planescape material. So there's a lot of Planescape material that's already made its way into the edition, particularly in the core rule books, and we'll continue to see it crop up until such time as we feel prepared to take a deeper dive, which I don't know when and if that will happen.
Yeah, fair enough.
A lot of fans of Planescape, and I have a special fondness for Planescape because I sort of onboarded to Planescape pretty early. I never was able to run a successful long-term Planescape campaign, but I fell in love with the setting and the factions and the way that it was built in 2nd edition.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the art that Tony DiTerlazzi did. It had a style that kind of took D&D in a direction I hadn't expected, so it came at just the right time for me. I wrote a couple adventures for Dungeon Magazine back in the day that were Planescape adventures, the only Planescape adventures that we ever published in that medium. So I do have some ties to that setting, and look forward to doing more things with it in the future.
Absolutely. I've just thought of my answer as well for the previous question. I would have Warwick Davis at my table to play a game with me. Good Guy Pie is right. He is one of my favorite comedians and a fun-loving guy, and he would be fun to play D&D with.
A little known fact: when I was an editor for Star Wars Insider magazine, I got to interview Warwick Davis at Star Wars Celebration. Yeah, so I met him. Oh gosh, it would have been almost 15 years ago now.
Nice. I'm jealous. We've got to get him on a show. Stream of Annihilation, let's go. So, okay, Mike has a question, more crunchy than fluffy. How do you feel about crafting systems in general, as well as those handled by other systems, versus options afforded in D&D? Is it something fans clamour for, or more of a niche interest in your experience?
More of a niche interest.
Yeah.
It's sort of kind of on the outside of what is kind of mainstream D&D adventuring. It's what the characters are doing when they're not adventuring, and there's always sort of a niche for that.
Yeah.
Personally, I like it when it's kind of there, but not so complicated that it becomes a system unto itself.
Right.
Because I find as a DM, that's very easy to adjudicate, and I'm not going to deny some player the ability to make an automated tomato squasher, right, if that's ultimately what they want to do.
Sure.
I'm not, so
yeah.
It's just one of those things. It's nice to have to help add dimension to a character who's looking to expand or to develop.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I found some players seem to be really into it, and then the majority seem pretty chill when they're crafting stuff.
Yeah, it's tricky because if you get too deep into it, suddenly it becomes this one character activity, and the other players at the table are just like, okay, has he made his tomato squasher yet? We'd like to actually get on with the adventure.
Yeah. Well, also, if you're interested in crafting, there's an Unearthed Arcana a couple of weeks ago about downtime, and it had crafting in it, so that addresses that kind of area of the game.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what the sort of the end feedback on that system is, because it would be fun to put that into play somewhere down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an interesting question. We talked about this as well with Matt Mercer, because he's a voice actor. Hawkin E asks, since I am not a good voice actor, I find that the hardest part of my DMing is making my NPCs that I voice stand out from each other. Is there any advice that you have?
Typically what I do when I'm struggling with that is I try to think of a character actor who would play that role, and then try to imitate that actor's voice. And I know it's not going to sound like that actor, but it's going to be distinctive by virtue of me trying to imitate it. So if I decide that somebody is going to sound like Gilbert Gottfried, and I attach, if I mentally attach Gilbert Gottfried to this halfling rogue, then that halfling rogue now has a distinctive voice. Gilbert Gottfried is not going to play any other part in my campaign.
Right.
He is that character in my mind. And so that helps me kind of create a voice for him.
Yeah.
Another thing I do is when I'm out walking the dog or something, I will just, when I'm alone in the woods and not, going to spook anybody, I will sometimes just practice a voice for some character or some NPC I know is going to come up in the future. Other times, I don't change the voice, but I add something to the language. Like recently in Dice Camera Action, I was struggling with dwarf voices. And rather than create a dwarf with a Scottish brogue or just a gruff, I just added a suffix at the end of words that the dwarf would say. So suddenly, like everything had the suffix or yar at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to the tavern, yar. Like, or, I think we should get out of here. And so I'm not changing my voice.
Yeah.
All I'm really doing is changing the way the character speaks. Stutters, lisps, all of those little devices and tools you can add to your own voice to create something new without. Now, the trick for me is remembering them. Like if I remember one time in 4th edition, I was running my campaign, and at the start of the campaign, this NPC had an Australian accent, and then he came back later in the campaign and had a Jamaican accent because I had simply forgotten.
I've done that before.
So you have to, if you're a little bit scatterbrained like I am, you got to take good notes. Right next to that one sheet I showed you earlier, which lists the NPCs. One of the reasons why I make that NPCs list is I can jot down little notes during the game next to it. It's like, this guy speaks with a lisp.
Right, yeah.
So I remember.
Yeah, you're right. And the content of what you say is as important as the delivery of how it's said. So I can attest.
If voices are a problem too, you can get around it simply by describing to the players what the voice sounds like, and then just talking in your normal voice, because the players will carry that imagination load for you.
Yeah, and think of things like velocity, tone, how quickly do you say the things, or how slowly. Yeah, a lot of things go into that. But yeah, you don't have to do crazy accents and stuff. I found, a lot of really good DMs that I play with. I can picture the character that they're playing based on simply the way which they're saying it, or the way that they're sitting. Or
yes, exactly. If I describe a character as physically being like a large Italian opera singer, I don't have to have a voice like a large Italian opera singer to be able to pull it off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Highland Lass, Francis asks, I use where I grew up in the Highlands of Scotland as an inspiration for encounter locations. And I'm thinking of our ancient history in the Orkney Islands would make for great inspiration. Is there anything that you use for inspiration? I guess particularly from nature or geography.
So I come from the snowy wastelands of Canada originally. And so I gotta think that some of that experience has intruded. And my parents they live on an island called Cape Breton Island, north of the Nova Scotia Peninsula, and it's very isolated and wooded and all that kind of business. And one of the things I remember there is seeing this enormous beaver dam that the beavers had built on the lake that my parents' house is on, and that became the inspiration for the lodge/den of the Hill Giant Chief in Storm King's Thunder.
Nice.
Which is this giant house built on top of a gigantic beaver dam construction. So I'd have to say, I've definitely been inspired by that.
Yeah.
And seeing icebergs off the coast of Nova Scotia has also inspired various iceberg layers over the years. So home terrain has definitely inspired me, and I would kill to have grown up in the Scottish Highlands, but then that will never happen.
lot of Canada representing tonight in the chat. Good to see you guys.
And it just follows the old adage of it's like the write what you know adage.
I think that's right.
Take what was formative to your upbringing and put a D&D spin on it, and at least it will carry the air of legitimacy. It
feels. I guess it feels more credible to not only the audience but to you, because you've lived it, you've experienced it, and it's real.
Like if somebody were ever to come to me and says, "Come on, a hill giant lair on top of beaver dam, that's so stupid, that would never happen." I'm like, dude, you haven't seen some of the beaver dams I've seen.
Right. There you go. All right, so Gareth, Sunny Pandas asks, I like this question as well. If you could have any monster from the monster manual as a pet, it would be friendly. What would it be? And I guess we could include Volo's Guide to Monsters as well.
I'll have to say the pseudo dragon, simply because, well, actually, this is kind of a double-edged sword for this. I was thinking the other day, wouldn't it be fun if my dog Milo could talk? And it's like, no, actually, I'm glad my dog Milo doesn't talk. because I'm sure the shit that would come out of his mouth would just be. But I like pseudo dragons because they understand common, but they can't speak.
Right.
And they have limited telepathy, so we can have sort of these limited telepathic conversations. I also I'm a traditionalist. I like dragons, so having a little flying dragon with me, I think would be quite fun and entertaining.
I like it. I think I'd go for. I have a soft spot for the grung, from Volo's Guide to the Frog People. I have.
You are not alone. Chris Lindsay, who sits over in the far corner of our workspace. He is a grung aficionado.
There you go.
He was the one actually who lobbied to have the grung in Volo's Guide, so you can thank him for that.
There you go. Thank you, Chris. Fantastic. So, this is a question which has to be asked, I think, and there's clearly only one answer. Laura asks, my best friend is DMing Curse of Strahd campaign, but it's been on a hiatus since Christmas. I really want to buy the book because I love everything about it. My DM and the guys at our local geek store say that they will let me buy Curse of Strahd if you, dear Mr. Perkins, say that I can. What say you, good sir?
Yes, you can. Buy away.
Yes, we can.
Yes, do it. They will not be disappointed.
Yeah, no, I can. I think, like I mentioned, Curse of Strahd is probably one of my favorite campaigns that I played in a good long time, actually. And so
it has the virtue of having been born out of an already brilliant adventure called Ravenloft.
Yes.
With a very compelling and easily sort of understandable villain.
Yeah.
Who is monstrous yet sympathetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I like Strahd a lot. He's an interesting guy.
I think that's one of the keys to a good villain in a D&D adventure is that they are not simply evil.
Yes.
But they've got something to them that is
human, I guess.
Human, and one could fall in love with.
Yeah.
If one were of a mind to.
I think that's very true. I mean, the best villains are almost, they're not the Bond. Welcome, Mr. Bond. I'm going to kill you for terrible reasons. They have something to them that you can sympathize with. I often think of like Magneto as maybe being a villain, but he's actually, you understand him and you can sympathize with that way of thinking.
Yes, it was in the first X-Men film. The first time you see Magneto, I think, is when he's a kid, right? And he's in the concentration camp.
That's right. Yeah.
So immediately you have an inbred sympathy for the man, despite all the terrible things that he does later in the movie. You're constantly reminded about where he came from and how horrible that was. So it really sort of adds a dimension that, when the characters learn of it in a campaign, often comes as a surprise, and it can often tilt or change the way they interact with that villain tremendously.
Yeah, I agree, and I think one of the reasons why I enjoyed Strahd so much, Curse of Strahd, was because of Strahd. The character is he's not two-dimensional. He's got something interesting going on for him, and when I look back on some of the other campaigns I've ran or played in, I felt that maybe I didn't do such a great job in portraying why they are doing what they're doing. And that's critical, I think, to why Strahd is so cool.
In the new story we're announcing tomorrow, the villain is not at all sympathetic, but
really?
there are sort of secondary villains or undervillains or lesser villains who very much are, where we do sort of paint them as these multidimensional figures who what players could sympathize with if situations were to and I think unfold.
You don't necessarily have to have the big bad as sympathetic, because they're often followers, and if you can understand why they're following this, then I can connect with that as a player as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Good Guy Pie asked the question. I'm setting up my own system and campaign. I've been working very hard at it, but I've got a problem. Because I'm fully aware of my writing problems. I haven't got any money to put into the project. I've been wondering how to get a reliable proofreader for my project. And I guess we could talk about injecting funds and stuff as well. I guess friends would be a good add.
I mean, if that's sort of the one route that's left, right?
Right.
If you have a teacher that
that's a good idea. Yeah,
that's another route to go. Make some cupcakes for somebody and say, I don't have any money, but I have cupcakes.
Exactly.
Would you mind reading this and just noting anything you think is weird? Yeah, you got to use what you have, but keep and just try to find somebody who's willing to help you out. They don't even have to be experienced with the rules or anything. I find that sometimes an editor who's not necessarily familiar with the ins and outs of D&D can be a very good D&D editor.
That's interesting.
Because they're just looking at the language, and if they stumble upon something that's confusing and bring it to your attention, you can be like, oh yeah, I can see how, if you're not totally up on the rules, this could be confusing.
Yeah. Now I want cupcakes, yeah.
Yes.
Birthday cake, we got it, don't worry guys. So I guess we'll flip this one off this one as well. Ben asks, if someone has a portfolio of RPG work already, how should they approach WotC about working on D&D? And we had a question about how do we be playtesters? How do we get involved more than we already are?
So I know that a lot of our current playtester crop comes out of Adventurers League. So if you can get involved with an Adventurers League game, and then you stand a better chance of being able to help us playtest material in the future. And one of our business managers, Chris Lindsay, is the holder of the playtester list, and he actually runs the Adventurers League as well. So I'd start with getting into an Adventurers League game, and then talking to some of the Adventurers League program leaders, things like that, and then try to get in that way for playtesting. As far as portfolios go, right now, because we only release a limited number of projects a year, not nearly as much as we used to, our approach is much more, don't call us, we'll call you. We will find you if we want to work with you. So the key is not where do you send your portfolio, but how do you get noticed by me and other people on staff. And one of the ways to do that is by contributing to DM's Guild. DMsguild.com is our one of our partners. Drive-Through RPG runs this website that sells D&D PDFs there, and also people can post their own content there and charge what they want. And Wizards gets a small, I think it's a 10% slice of the profits, and everything else goes to the content. Wizards and Drive-Through gets 10%, I think, and everything else goes to the content creator. So I find that that's a useful kind of proving ground or training ground. And we do check in periodically to see what's posted there. And in fact, one of the stories that one of the products that we're working on now has 2 writers that I found or tapped based on their work on DM's Guild.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And so that's a real doorway. It's kind of taken the place of what used to be the Dungeon Magazine, Dragon Magazine doorway. And as well, we spoke with Wolfgang Bauer before from Kobold Press, and they take admissions all the time. So they have open seasons for content, and that's a great place to get some RPG writing, if not for WotC, but to be working in that space. And, Kobold Press is a great place to sort of sharpen your teeth, and because they do have they are looking for smaller, shorter content. And Wolf is a pro. He has been in the biz a long time, and he knows what he's doing. He'll help. He'll help you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They seem like a very helpful bunch of people. Obviously, you can reach them on Twitter very easily. Dan Dillon's been on the show before.
Yeah, I've always said as a policy that I always want to work with people who I think or know are smarter than me. And Wolf is one of those guys who is super, super smart. And you will learn so much from interactions with him.
Okay, cool. So we just mentioned Dungeon Magazine, and Solo Echo asks, what was the favourite thing you wrote for Dungeon Magazine? Now, favourite things are always sometimes a difficult question to answer. What's the best thing of this? But has anything jumped to mind?
Let me think. There's been so many.
Time to go into the archives.
Yeah, I've got a big pile of Dungeon magazines here in the corner of my desk, actually. Just give me a quick second here. I really liked...
And the tension in the room right now.
Yeah.
What's he gonna say?
I'm literally mentally scrolling through
Yeah, I
every
can see
one
it
of
happening.
them. I'm gonna say issue 100, The Lich Queen's Beloved.
All right.
It was an adventure that I wrote featuring Githyanki, and you go to the astral plane to do battle with the Githyanki Lich Queen.
Nice.
Yes, it's a big fat adventure. It's a little bit mean, as many high level adventures are. But I had a lot of fun with that. The other one I had fun with that sprung to mind was an adventure called Life's Bazaar. And sorry, I just dropped something on the floor. Life's Bazaar was the adventure that launched the first adventure path for Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons' first ever adventure path, which was the Shackled City adventure path.
Nice.
And it was a low level adventure for you were first level characters, and one of your first encounters is with a beholder.
Nice. Fuck. I like it.
Yeah. So I got a kick out of that. If I wanted to go into the Wayback Machine, the adventure that people ask me about the most is Umbra. Umbra was the first Planescape adventure published by Dungeon Magazine.
Nice.
And it was a story about a custody battle.
Yes.
In the plains.
I
get more feedback and nice comments about that adventure than anything else I'd written for the magazine.
Yeah, I'm a personal fan as well. I named one of my NPC villains Umbra after the adventure. Cool name.
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic. So Jacob Peavy asks, what's up, Jacob? If you could use any 5e spell once a day for the rest of your life, what would you choose? That's a great question. Prestidigitation. Yeah. Oh, so useful, man.
Oh yeah.
Every day.
Little parlor tricks.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I guess if I were to go a little bit more superheroic, I'd probably choose fly or something like that, or telekinesis or something. But I'm going to go with prestidigitation. I stand by that.
Yeah, I think as well. It's difficult to find everyday uses for Fireball.
Well, yeah. Plus, you're likely to get arrested.
Yeah, that's a thing, right? Yeah.
And its duration is really, really short. Whereas at least I can play with prestidigitation for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
I just want to create fireworks whenever I enter a room.
Stream of Annihilation. Yeah, I like it.
Also, clean the dog crap off my shoe whenever I step in a big load in the woods. Yeah.
Well, we recently found a really funny use for cleaning clothes every morning. There's blood on your clothes, prestidigitation, you're all good. So
Yep. It's very versatile.
Yeah.
So many uses. I'd abuse that spell quite nicely.
So Goblin Queen asks a question. The Queen asks, how do you address or manage metagaming with players? This might be a question that you get a fair bit on the Twitters and what. But,
mostly I make fun of my players for metagaming. I sort of shame them into not doing it anymore.
Shame.
Yeah, by a shame. I call them on it, that's all.
Right,
I
call them out.
I just call it what it is. And sometimes we get a good laugh over it, over the shame, and sometimes, they're just, yeah. I don't make a big deal out of it. I just try to move on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
It's gonna happen, and sometimes it's actually funny, and you can play off the humor of it, depending on the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
If a player is doing it just to be obnoxious,
right,
then I'll just beat the living shit out of them, and after that, everything will be fine.
What goes on at What's the Offices, folks? We need an investigation.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. That's such a nice guy.
If we're playing online, it's like, oh, you're breaking up.
You dropped the call.
Oh,
shame. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Hopefully, you'll be back in 10 minutes.
Or next month, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Rakam and a couple of other people asked, with the release of the MTG art books, Kaladesh and the like, can we expect any kind of D&D crossover anytime soon? I remember seeing something about this as well a long time ago now.
Can't talk about what the future will actually hold, but obviously we work in the company and we see these pretty books come out. We're like, can we do something like that?
That's good.
The question in my mind is not if we'll do it. It's a question of when and who will do it. Will it be,
Right.
will we do it in-house, or will we give it to like a licensed partner to do for us? Because we've got our skill set and we don't necessarily have to do everything in-house. We've proven we have some capable partners out there who can execute on this stuff.
Yeah.
So it could be something that we see in the future. And as for crossovers go, I find that we're much closer to the Magic team than ever before. We've had a lot of
Right.
cross-pollination. We've brought people over to help us with our stories, and we've sent people over there to help them with theirs. So
Yeah.
A crossover is not beyond the pale.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think this question is great. Seeing as we're just talking about the office, and I hear folks laughing in the background. What is it like working at Wizards of the Coast? For many people, this is their dream job. Is it just day-to-day business emails and meetings, or is it just beanbags and foosball?
So it is mostly
mix.
it is mostly work.
Right.
Work being desk work, either writing or responding to emails, or meeting work, sitting around tables in conference rooms and trying to hash out something,
Right.
or get people caught up on where projects are in various stages, because there are so many projects all in different stages. It's easy for things to fall through the cracks. So a lot of the time is taken up with that, and then it's punctuated with these unexpected moments of fun, or these planned moments of fun, where we might go into a room and game for an hour or two, or to test something or what have you. Or it'll be a conversation will just spring up in the design pit, which I sit in, and we'll just have that conversation. And sometimes it's work related,
Right.
and other times it's just world related. Like yesterday, I think a bunch of us burned at least a half hour just chatting about Wonder Woman. And that's perfectly fine here, because we're an entertainment business and we pay attention to things happening in entertainment, and we also look to see how other IPs use their characters, and we study how those are handled. So for us, it's a perfectly justifiable conversation here to spend a half hour to an hour talking about what DC is doing with Wonder Woman, and how the Wonder Woman character is being translated for this modern audience. And so these conversations are great because they are legitimate. They are pursuant to our business, and they help us actually in a lot of ways with our own products and how we present our own stories and our own characters.
Interesting.
So those are fun. And then the rest of the time is just me staring at my messy desk and wondering, what the hell? When am I going to clean this shit up?
Let's be prepping, Chris. God, no. Yes. Yeah.
Or getting sucked away into something where, hey, let's go downstairs and grab some tea and talk about, I don't know, Girolons or dwarves or
nice.
Some the other thing that we do here a lot is we often have people coming in, partners. So the folks from Curse working on D&D Beyond might drop by, or the folks from Cryptic might drop in, or what have you, or somebody from Hollywood will come bursting in through the doors, and it's like, okay, we're going to just drop everything and show them around and talk to them for a while and give them as good experience as possible, and then see them out. And then every once in a while, somebody will show up at the Wizard's office out of the blue, just a fan, to take pictures of next to the big dragon up in the reception area.
Nice.
And if I'm around, sometimes the receptionist will call down and say if I have a few minutes to come up and say hi, and I will. Nice. And then I'll go back to my regularly scheduled work. So we here at Wizards, we have semi-flexible hours. So as long as you're here for your required meetings, you can kind of come and go. And a lot of people will take the afternoon to work at home, or take a day off to work at home, or we can all to some extent work remotely.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. We mentioned other IPs, I guess. Worth asking. We know we've been talking a lot about D&D. Outside of D&D, are there other RPGs?
There is no outside of D&D.
Are you kidding me? There's nothing else except for
nothing
Wizards of
the Coast. My life is D&D and my dog, and that's really it. But you had a question about other RPGs?
Yeah. Is there any ever you enjoy, even if you don't play them, but you enjoy to play if you got the chance?
Let's see. I don't get to play Call of Cthulhu as often as I would like. I really like Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, me too.
I like the feeling that you're doomed before you start.
Yeah.
And you can play some quirky characters there. I like, what else do I like? Oh, there's not much I don't like.
Yeah, that's the problem I usually find about RPGs. Everything's great.
With regard to RPGs, I can pretty much get a fun anything. I like Gamma World and I don't get to play it anymore, really. I like a lot of the old games, Star Frontiers and Top Secret and stuff, and I don't get to play them, but I do get to reminisce about them periodically. Other games, there are some board games that we play occasionally, but most of the time I'm just focused on D&D.
All my Call of Cthulhu players, we play a game on Tuesdays. Like, Chris can come play with us anytime, man.
Time is the
problem.
killer.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Time is absolutely the killer. There's almost no free time for anything anymore.
Yeah.
And summer is the worst because there's also lots of convention travel.
Yeah, that's it. Doing the circuits, fantastic.
This year I'll be at a number of conventions. The next one I'll be at is Origins.
Okay.
In the middle of June, and that's in Columbus, Ohio. And then we got, I know Mike Merles is going to Gen Con in August.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Then there's PAX West, which I'll be a part of course, with Acquisitions Inc. And then later in the fall, we've got PAX Unplugged, and we've got Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a fun show because it's very close to where Lake Geneva is, and it's all sort of tabletop focused stuff, so it'll be fun.
Cool, that's cool. So Highland Lass asks, I've been running D&D games in a secondary school for nearly 20 years. Originally I was introduced by students. I know she runs like 30 to 45 minute games, so pretty tight turnaround in lunch breaks and stuff like that. She asks, have you or Wizards ever worked with schools? I guess the question being, will you?
We haven't directly. I know from just anecdotal experience, we have a lot of friends who are teachers, and they do run programs in their schools, and they pretty much have been up to now self-sufficient. But this question has come up increasingly more in the past year or so. It may force us to have a conversation about what can we do to help teachers use D&D as a teaching tool. But at this point in time, we don't really have any formal program in place. Yeah,
that's fair enough. Yeah, and I think, I do wish when I was a kid that we had a D&D program, whether or not it's run by Wizards or it's just by the school.
When I was in high school, we started up a D&D club, and there was sort of a teacher overseer who was basically making sure that we weren't doing anything
like
satanic.
Magic. Yeah, sure.
Exactly. But wasn't really invested in the game or using it as a tool. We just sort of played, and our games were terrible, and we mostly just ended up killing each other. Having a sort of more formal or have a way to help teachers see D&D as a learning tool and be able to use it in cost-effective and time-effective ways. I think that's probably another big step forward for us, and probably not too far on the horizon.
Awesome. That's really, really encouraging to hear. I think getting young people involved in D&D is really, really good. I actually read a BBC article a couple of weeks ago, which was it's being used for therapy in UK institutions and schools for young kids. So I think it's really, really fantastic.
It's I know it's been very helpful with autism.
Yes,
in particular. I think it just bears further research and scrutiny.
I agree. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so Laura, I know you're a very busy fellow because you just said that, but are there any plans to travel to the UK, cons, etc.? We got a couple of cons in the UK, right?
Yes, you do. And in fact, I do love the United Kingdom. London, in particular, is my favorite city on earth. The short answer is no. I have nothing on the horizon. I plan to travel outside the continental United States. Part of that is I need to get my passport renewed, but part of it too is it's immensely draining because I don't travel all that well. So trips over 4 hours are pretty rough for me. And I have a little dog at home who needs me. So
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I feel kind of chained down in a good way by the little creature who shares my house.
Yeah. I mean, traveling, especially internationally, I've traveled 4 or 5 times back to the US and UK in the past couple of years. It really is tiring, and I can understand.
It's tiring, and I come home and my I have to get my dog out of his depression funk.
Oh,
because
I know.
He's been depressed for 4, 5, 6 days, and so it's taxing on a number of levels.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about stream Annihilation. Obviously, you're on lots of streams and doing stuff. Do you watch any Twitch, YouTube games? I imagine if you watch any, there's glimpses here and there, or one that you watch in particular.
There's some that are fits and starts. The one I'm keeping up with is Critical Role.
Yes. Understandably.
Understandably, but because I think the thing that draws me to that show is all the people involved in that show are just such wonderful, lovely people.
Yeah.
And they really do put their all into their characters.
Yeah.
And they obviously have tremendous chemistry. It's obvious. So keeping up with that is good. It's also good because, their shows can run 4 or 5 hours. And if you ever fall behind, it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to catch up. So it's better just to stay on top of it if you can. The other show that I've watched in fits and starts is Acquisitions Inc., the C Team, because I think Jerry's an amazing DM. And the game happens to run during the workday when I can't keep up with it. So I have to watch it off hours. Mm-hmm. Which is why my viewership has been a little bit spotty, but I'm becoming more invested in those characters, and will probably try to keep up as a regular viewer soon.
Nice.
And then periodically keeping up on other shows that are happening during the times when I'm not working and not otherwise going crazy. I recently, the Girls Guts Glory, they're very short. They're like 20 minutes long, so they're very digestible little bits. So I'm able to usually catch those. And there's not a lot of, you don't necessarily have to watch all the ones previously to kind of get the feel for what's happening. So that's the other one that I'm trying to keep up on. And then others as they come. Sometimes people will send me a link on Twitter, and it'll just happen to reach me at a time when I'm like looking for something to do.
Nice,
and I'll check it out.
Yeah. Nice. I like it. I'm very much the same. I find that when I'm not streaming D&D, I want to go do something a little bit different, and I catch bits here and there to keep me excited. That was a cool idea. I'm going to use that sort of deal. It's interesting because I work on D&D and I work on fantasy. A lot of my free time is not spent doing fantasy things. I found that to be the same as well.
Yeah. Even most of the books I read are things like histories as opposed to fiction. So
it's cool.
It's just natural.
Yeah, I think you need a creative outlet for other things other than.
And part of it is deliberate because I don't want to get burned out.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, every day would be a bit. Every day, 100% of the time would be too much, I think.
Right. Yes.
So Baron Pleasant asks, I'm currently in talks with my university to make a D&D society, so maybe receiving a blessing of the DM gods would work.
All right. Well, you have it. All the blessings to you, sir. I hope it happens. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Good luck, dude.
Yep.
Similarly, blessings of Paylor upon you and your university.
Yes. That sounds much more fun than like frat crap.
Right. Yeah, more productive and.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's a lot of valuable things that students can gain from that.
Yes. I wish I'd had that at my university, but
me too. No worries. Very, very happy. Looks like. Okay, so Dr. Plasmas asks, you mentioned your teacher supervising to make sure you all did not do anything demonic. Over time, D&D has been in the spotlight in multiple forms of media for that very reason. In fact, we went back and watched some 80s Satanic Panic bits of media from the news a couple of weeks ago. So Dr. Plasmas asks, what do you do to try or counteract that kind of press? Or I guess that's so. I think nowadays it's more very accepted, but I guess back in the day,
it's it doesn't really come up anymore to speak of. And my personality is that I don't suffer fools, so I tend to tune or block those out.
Yeah.
I feel like they can, if there's a lot of hot air being blown about that kind of thing, I just don't want to even be part of it. So
Yeah.
I just move on, try to do my job, which is to be one of the custodians of this brand, to get it out there, to usher it well, to not screw things up. I've got enough to worry about without blustery people talking about stuff that makes absolutely no sense.
Yep. I agree. Fake news. You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it really come up at all, recently. I find it interesting to look back on it. I wasn't even alive.
It's hard to really. We've become over the years more desensitized and frankly a little bit wiser when it comes to media, and so it's a lot harder to kind of try to sell people on that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot worse things happening in the world. It's like, you can go on about this if you want to, but honestly, this is not
seem important, does it really?
It doesn't seem important anymore. No.
Yeah.
A lot of that satanic panic stuff has been debunked, and people know it, and it's just like, oh, that old chestnut. It's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's have one last question here, and I think this one's a fitting one from Rakam. Now that 5e has been out for a while, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with it?
With the actual edition itself, as opposed to the 5th edition, the sort of 5th edition experience, the game we're talking about here. I
guess both we could answer if it doesn't take us too long.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say I put the game itself on a 9. Mm-hmm. It's a perfectly engaging, liberating, freeing, very inviting game. I think there's always room for improvement. Yeah. There are things that could have been play tested more, or things that aren't to my personal tastes, but obviously appeal to a larger audience, and so I'm willing to accept them. So I put it on the 9 scale. As far as the greater 5e experience, it has far exceeded what I expected, both in terms of its success business-wise and in terms of its just reach.
Yeah.
So I think it's off the scale there. It's like on a 14 or 15 on the 10 scale, because I did not see this sort of platinum age taking off to the extent it has, and seeing it ripple across all kinds of industries.
Yeah.
And just to see the passion and the happiness that it seems to bring a lot of people. It brings people closer together. It's allowing people who don't feel comfortable in other venues to find a comfortable, safe space to explore their creativity and to dive into a new world and meet new friends. And I could not have predicted the extent to which this has taken hold. So, yeah.
I agree. And there's a couple of questions. What would you change about it if it's a 9? I'd argue, you kind of are changing it as you go. There's a lot of things which are being molded with 5th edition, and it's not a static game. It's not just
if somebody wants something, like when I'm talking like things I would change, often they're just finicky little stupid things that I could change as part of a house rule if I wanted to anyway. Yeah. Which is one of the great appeals of the game, is the rules exist, but they exist to be changed to serve your game better. So like if I were to pick on one, I'd say, okay, I don't really like the fact that persuasion and intimidation are 2 separate skills. I'd rather just have a persuasion check and say, it covers different kinds of persuasion, from seduction to intimidation. You don't need the 2 skills. That's such a small, niggly change that it's not the kind of thing where I'd be up there going, oh my God, we must do 6th edition because, I can't stand that there's 2 skills. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
They're all small little things that I can easily customize on my own. So, and I think a lot of DMs feel similarly. There are things that they want to change or would change or are changing in their games, and they're perfectly welcome to. And frankly, 5th edition not only allows it, but encourages it. So
yes, indeed.
Bravo.
And in the words of the immortal words of Barbosa, they're more like guidelines anyway.
Yes, precisely. Yes. That was very timely.
Yeah, fantastic. We always do one little thing at the end of these little sections here. I've been asking you a lot of questions, Chris. We've been grilling you hard on Stream of Annihilation and feel like the interview has gone very well in terms of learning a lot of stuff. But Chris, do you have a question for me or for the viewers or anything you'd like to ask?
Let me think about that for just a second here.
Seems only fair after all, it's a ratio of 100 questions to 1.
So here's a question. Often what we do in our D&D stories is we try to reach into D&D's history or past to bring some nugget from the past forward and reintroduce it to a new audience. Like, for instance, Strahd, the vampire who figured in Ravenloft and came back in Curse of Strahd. Or giants, or the elemental evil, or something like that. What's one adventure from D&D's distant past that you would like to see reintroduced or retackled in some new and imaginative way?
That is a good question right there. I'm sure folks in chat are going to have a bunch of ones for you. Let me think of some of my personal ones. Now, I am a bit of a disadvantage myself. I've gone back and played some of the others, but I started in 4th when I was 10. I think I started playing when I was 10. And then from there, so I've actually had the experience of getting to play a lot of the adventures that have come out. So I've actually been on an experience of going back, and a lot of the ones that I wanted to go back in and play have actually recently been re-released in a Tales from the Yawning Portal.
Right. Yes. And this would be this question's more like, we wouldn't take the adventure and literally just republish it or update it. We would take its themes or concepts or a fundamental idea and then do sort of a new take on it.
Now, this is the only one I can think of, and it is a campaign setting, but I would like to see. I just love it so much. It's so Mad Max. It's so different to just fantasy, and that's Dark Sun. I personally am a huge fan of Dark Sun, and I would love to see that. Not just let's have a Dark Sun campaign setting. I think it would just be super cool to see a Dark Sun storyline, a campaign, or something like that. But there are literally a million answers here in chat. We got Al-Qadim, Minds of Madness, Undermountain seems to be a popular one at the moment, as does Dark Sun. Spelljammer, I hear that a lot. Isle of Dread.
Oh yeah, Spelljammer.
Yeah. Temple of the Forbidden City, Dragon Mountain, Age of Worms.
Oh, okay.
Oh
really?
We actually played that one recently. That was good fun.
Huh.
That was an interesting one. Dwellers of the Forbidden City. Some of these I don't even know. I've got to go back and play these now. Yeah, lots of good ones. Minds of Madness or Lich Queen's Beloved. Tie back to the previous one.
Look at that. Well, at least one of those that you said will probably be making a comeback in some way, shape, or form, so I'll leave it at that.
Oh, wow, we got to guess now. All right, well, fantastic. This has been an absolute joy, an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, Chris.
And let me say, before I leave, happy birthday again, Will.
Thank you. Yeah, 21. I will not be forgetting this one. And
damn.
God, feeling old, but time to eat cake.
You're feeling old. Shit.
Well, we all know you're
feeling like
22 as well, Chris, so it's fine.
I feel like I'm halfway to lichdom.
Work on the phylactery. We'll get there, I'm sure. Fantastic. Well, good lord. This has been so much fun. Thank you again to Sydney for organising this for my birthday.
Yes. Thanks, Sydney, for reaching out.
Yeah, and thanks so much to everybody here who showed up and asked us a question or just patiently waited and listening. It was so much fun. And
so just in closing, as we said at the beginning, the stream of Annihilation is tomorrow and Saturday. The schedule is now posted up on the D&D website, so you can check out to see who's playing what, when, and tune in and tune out as you see fit. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be fun.
Excited, scared, nervous. It's going to be a good time.
It'll be great to see some friends again in the flesh. So
interesting. Yeah. Cool. And and if you guys have enjoyed this, hit that follow button and join us. We'd love to see you guys again. We're here 6 days a week playing D&D, some other tabletop role-playing games as well. There's a YouTube channel, there's a website, there's all sorts of stuff. So give us a look if you're interested. I'm going to go for 5 minutes on a little countdown, and then there are a bunch of other questions that I know you guys want answered as well, just about D&D, some other bits. So I'll come back to answer those, and we'll have a drink and celebrate 21. But thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys in about 5 minutes' time.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks so much, Chris. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Take care.
Oh. Alright, guys. In fact, let us go to... Let's go to the Necromancer overlay. Let's find out, shall I? Dude, can we, that's not that one. This is the one I wanted. And now there's things all over the screen. Let's just go back here. Wow, that was so much fun. That was best birthday present ever. Thank you, Sydney, for that. Can we get a huge thank you to Sydney and thank you to Chris as well? That was awesome. Let's see what you guys saying. Fuck you, man! Oh man, that is stressful, you know. That I was saying to Sydney, thank you, but I'm so nervous. I think she's going in now. Hey.
How was it?
It was great, it was awesome. It went really well, and yeah, I am sweating buckets. But it was fun, man. I feel like we answered some great questions there, and now let's just yeah, got some cool answers. Some spoilers as well, some exclusives about the stream of Annihilation. So let's go to this and just bring the faces on. But yeah, if you guys enjoy the show and you want to watch more, hit the follow button and join us. We'd love to have you back again soon for more shows. You can find a schedule online here in case you're interested. Hot exclusives. Hot exclusives. There's a video game cancelled today. I am not going to do it because it's my birthday and I figure I don't really want to do any more for my birthday. I'm going to chill out and we're going to go eat food and eat cake and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you guys, everybody who followed. I appreciate it very much. You're brilliant. Well, thank you guys. And you had some awesome questions as well, everybody. So you did super well. And hopefully we got through most of the questions that you wanted answered. And if there are any others. I know there was a question about PDFs that was asked. That I figured I wouldn't bother Chris with because we've asked people that before in the past, and they're pretty clear that they don't want to do PDFs at the moment. So let's put a ring on it. We don't have to right now, guys. Let's not pressure Chris into doing anything he doesn't want to. Thank you, guys. Thank you for living another year. Thank you, Endless Night, for being around, man. Following now like a newborn chick. How are you not crumpled on the floor, functioning well? It's not quite sunk in yet. Yeah, I don't think it quite has yet. I'll probably be freaking out for the rest of the day. I wanted to thank the people who subscribed as well, because a bunch of people subscribed and resubscribed, and that's very much appreciated, as always. But yeah, that was cool. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. Oh, and also, Chris is sending us stuff.
Right before he was like, "Do you guys have an address? I want to send you guys some gifts."
He's like super nice. He wants to send us a
like a bunch of Tomb of Horrors.
Tomb of Horrors stuff for birthday stuff. So
yeah, like
thank you, Chris.
Felt mats, and then some dice bags.
Yeah,
I was like,
what a nice guy. What a nice guy. But yes, thank you guys for joining us. Some nice Glenfiddich at the pub and enjoy your birthday. If he wasn't sweating before, he is now. Also, I do want to shout out our sponsor for the show. Greygast is the command. If you guys haven't checked this out yet, it's a fantastic Kickstarter who are almost fully backed. I believe they're at 17k last time I looked at it. Many-sided dice are running this one. You can see the book here. I'll actually bring it onto the big screen for you guys. The Lost Artifacts of Greygast is a book all about magic items and some cool, really interesting magic items as well. So check it out if you haven't already. They help make the show possible and keep me alive and eating food and stuff like that. So I appreciate it very much. And if you guys haven't checked out the link, I'd appreciate it if you did so. Have I checked out D&D Beyond? What are my initial thoughts? Yeah, I have. I streamed the thingy. I streamed it when it first launched, and we had a couple of. Are you from the Curse team as well, Dicey DM? Because we had a couple. Oh god, I've forgotten their usernames now. Bad Eye, I think was in here. He's a sub, and we were talking about stuff before. Yeah, I like D&D Beyond. I'm excited to see where it goes next. Basically, I'm kind of waiting on. Particularly Twitch integration is what I'm excited for D&D Beyond. Thank you, Wilgaf. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of surreal. I was saying to Chris before we went on live, that it was really surreal for me because I listened to him. He's the first DM that I ever heard playing D&D or the first person that I had playing D&D, I guess, on Acquisitions Inc. podcast when I was like, I don't know, 16, 17, probably younger than that actually, probably like 15 or so. And yeah, hearing his voice, I'm like, I'm talking to this guy. This is super cool. And you know, one of the reasons that I got started into D&D. So yeah, that was awesome. How did you not turn into a gibbering wreck? When I met celebrities I admired, that turned into a blushing goo. Man, I don't know. It's like I don't want to like totally geek out, and then they're like, oh god, he's a weirdo, you know. So luckily, introducing the show as D&D sex icon, I think worked out pretty well for me. The new line. What's D&D Beyond again? A set of online tools. Compendium. Have they released the character builder yet? I think they have, right? Is it in stage 2? I honestly haven't been keeping up every like second of it recently, but yeah. I suggest Will and Sid dress up as each other for Halloween. I could probably pull it off. I'd have to like wear a wig or something.
I don't think so.
You don't?
No.
I have to dye it at the very least.
We're gonna be Gavin.
Oh yeah. Go and say it. Oh, it's still no. Okay, cool. So you are from the quest teams. Sweet. But yeah, Dan, that was pretty surreal and fun. We should have a drink in celebration for this fine occasion. And it's 8 p.m. so we'll probably go and get like some dinner, some food because we're hungry, and then we'll be hanging out, and then I'm gonna play some games, some video games. Oh my god, with my old friend James, who used to be on the stream, Encounter James as he was once known. So we'll be catching up before I fly off. Did you expect us to go 2 hours? Yeah, we booked 2 hours in, so we did exactly that. But I himself, awesome. That is true, Perkins. That is very true. Unrelated 420. I like it. Thank you, Tour School. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you everybody who to make this possible. I mean, obviously Sydney sent the email, the questions to Chris to see if we can make it happen. But it would also going to be possible without you guys, because if I was just some fucking scrub on his own in a basement talking to one person, it's unlikely Mr. Perkins would come on the show and talk to us. So the fact that you guys are here every day supporting us is awesome, and that we get to hang out and do these things every now and again. We had Ed Greenwood on the show a couple of times. We've had Matthew Mercer on the show. We had Chris Perkins on the show. Let's shoot for Gandhi. Although Chris said he'd like to play a game with Barack Obama. That would be his dream celebrity. So Barack Obama is the man to have. Thanks, guys. Make it count. I don't play games. I watch games. I watch game streams. Also, later on, I'm going to be tweeting at Trump SC, who's a Hearthstone streamer. He's probably one of my favorite streamers. Some of you guys might watch him or know him if you watch any Hearthstone stuff. But he's starting a D&D campaign, and he's got an open call out for D&D streamers and people to join in the game. So I'm totally going to be tweeting at him later on. And if you follow me on Twitter, then I would ask that you help me out with a like or a retweet or something, so that Trumpy sees it and he's like, yeah, that guy. Play D&D with him. So I've peaked too soon. He's going to be Chris. My mum or your mum.
My mom.
Yeah.
She wants to come on so
she wants
bad,
to go
though.
on the show.
She really does.
Scroll on the basis. Yeah, if I might, yeah. Gosh. Barack Obama, Vin Diesel, and Will Wheaton. There you go. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you very much. Well, and Ben Legend counter DMs. It's very true. It's very true. And that guy Gareth is on the show as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute blast, and I'm excited for. So we're in terms of what's happening. There won't be a stream on Wednesday or Thursday next week, or this week, I guess technically, right? No, next week. Yeah. The 7th and the 8th. I'm flying out to America with Sydney on the 7th, and I'll be setting up and settling in on the 8th. So, sorry, power back, man. So, you'll miss the Wednesday and the Thursday stream. We might be able to get something going on here without me. Someone might be able to cover a stream somewhere for us, but that's where things currently stand. And then from there on, we'll be in the Americas, and hopefully everything will be better once we're there. Actually, internet should be vastly improved. so we'll be able to improve the quality of the stream again.
And we'll be set up for a while.
Yeah, we'll be set up in a while. Also, I guess we should talk about the conventions that we plan on going to, that we've recently started discussing. We're going to GEXCon, GEXCon, which is in Virginia, Fredericksburg, Virginia. I can probably find a link for you guys here in a minute. We're going on July 8th, 9th.
Yeah.
I'll find a link for it if you're going there. It has a tabletop like area of that convention in Virginia, so you can find us there. July 8th and 9th. We're going to be going with Laura Lania as well and Erho TV, and we plan on doing a D&D panel there as well. And the panel is planned on being, I don't know how much I can talk about this really. It's not confirmed to happen, so it's in the works. It's to be on running evil D&D campaigns, so we should be there in Virginia to talk about that. Then I'm planning on going to TwitchCon. I'm definitely going, you hopefully are going as well, to TwitchCon this year. So if you're in LA, California? Long Beach, California. I forget every time where this thing is. Long Beach, California. Then come to TwitchCon with us, and you'll see us there. And we'll also hopefully be doing some D&D stuff as well at TwitchCon. It's too soon, TM. And then Gen Con, Indianapolis will be at as well. Yes. So we've got 3 conventions that we plan on going to in the US this year. So I'll keep you guys posted on Twitter and stuff like that about when that's happening, when we're going. If you want to come and see us, if you're in America, then awesome. If you're in the US or Europe, then sorry, we won't be coming out there anytime soonish. UK is usually easier for us, but we'll be over there for some time. So in the short term, I guess it's going to be a bit of a no-go. But yeah, those are the 3 conventions: GEXCon, TwitchCon, and Gen Con. So yeah, go to Gen Con, guys. Like, it'll be fun.
You can play games with us there.
Play games with us. We're running Open Legend games. Yeah. TwitchCon will be great if you play. If you're into Twitch, you want to see a bunch of your guys' favorite streamers. I don't actually know how many people are going. I know Mike is going from Homemade Gaming. I think Trainsy would go. Who else in the community is going? I don't know. Let me know if you're going. I think Kira was saying she might be going as well. Yeah. Okay. We're sorry that you can't go to Canada. One day I'll end up in Canada, man. One day. We do plan on going to Canada one day. And seeing Mitch, most importantly. Seeing Encounter Mitch there. So yeah, that is the next few plans. But other than that, the stream shouldn't be interrupted. I'll keep you guys posted on Twitter and the like as per usual in case anything untoward is going on or we have any problems with the setup or anything like that. But yeah, I imagine it'll probably be probably won't have the green screen and lighting straight away once we're set up there. Yeah. So yeah. So Judo, the official time is 3 months. Probably. So yeah, I think Mitch is close by. I don't remember where Mitch is exactly. In Canada. He lives in Toronto. Some city. You'll soon be kidnapped by Shalom. I could see it happening now. So yeah, any other questions before we head off and do food stuffs basically? And I'll remind you guys again, if you enjoyed the show, hit that follow button and join us. Very much appreciate it, guys. Like I mentioned, we'll be back online tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Yep. Numenera tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. When is Gen Con? August 17th?
Yeah.
To 20th. Thank you, Urgaf. Thank you all. Canada, the fine land. Yeah, it's like some big center in Indianapolis. I don't know exactly where it is, but yeah. Cool. We'll figure it out. We got tickets and stuff and all that lot. So yeah, GEXCon, TwitchCon, Gen Con, those are free places that you can come and hang out with us, play games with us, listen to us talking about D&D and stuff like that. Yeah, let's see who's streaming at the moment. We can go host a friend of ours who is alive and live. How many people stream at like 8 p.m, but let's see. We'll check it out. When's your community games? What time? The schedule is here, my friend. 4 p.m. Eastern on a Thursday is the time that you were looking for. Also, shout out to Wizard of the Coast for hosting my stream. So, thank you guys. Yeah, appreciate that. Find following. Let's find... Oh, Roll20 is streaming at that moment. Time is streaming. Ogb. Who else we got? What's that thing? Speedo. Streaming. Skag and Speedruns. Oh, okay, cool. I just say from his older D&D player, wholehearted thank you for your enthusiasm and the inspiring stream, which already got me back into D&D a couple of years ago after a little hiatus. Thanks so much, Francis. I appreciate that a lot. That's awesome. It's very awesome. I guess let's go host Roll20. We were just talking to Chris about all that stuff going on there. So let's go over to Roll20 app and go show them some host love. Because we like Roll20 and they are nice. So thank you guys so much for watching. We're trying to get a job at Roll20 by hosting them. That's the plan. Maybe Roll20 will come talk to us. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been awesome. Thank you again to you for getting Chris Perkins on the show. And thank you to Chris for coming on the show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you wondered if it will be on YouTube, yes it will. Here is the YouTube channel that you can find there. But we're going to go add host Roll20 and we're going to go spam some stuff in their chat, okay? We're going to do hashtag encounter raid and then an SM walk, or if you're a sub, it'll be an ERP raid, okay? So I'll give you guys, so copy this to your, what's it called? Your clipboard, and then we're going to spam it in their channel and say hello to Roll20. Thank you guys again so much, and until next time, try not to draw too many net ones because we want to be here laughing when you do. Good night, everybody. Bye!